Local Edition. I'm Brad Pomerance. We're joined today by the Mayor of Riverside, Rusty Bailey. And congratulations, sir. I know that you were a big proponent of what was known as Measure Z.
That's right.
A measure that was on the ballot in November. What was Measure Z?
Measure Z is a 1% sales tax increase to improve the quality of life across the entire city of Riverside.
1%.
1%.
That means 1 cent.
1 cent
That
or $1 if it's a $100 purchase, it's $1.
But that doesn't mean a quarter of a cent
No.
or a half a cent.
No.
1 cent is a bold move.
It's a big deal.
It's a big deal. And for 60% of your voters to say yes, this is Riverside. This is not, San Francisco.
They believe in the quality of organization, and they have told us that, and the momentum and the direction we're going. And I think it truly piggybacks on the Riverside Renaissance, that public investment, that we put in as a city, and now this is somewhat of again, an endorsement by the voters.
Right. Now, as a result of the passage of this measure, the city is looking at a variety of projects. It wasn't a dedicated tax, so you didn't need 2/3.
General tax.
It was a general tax. That's why the 60% worked. I know that you have a budget engagement commission.
That's right.
Those are citizens that are looking at
transparency and accountability.
And so what is the commission? They just got appointed, but I guess what's their mission? And what are you hearing from the Budget Engagement Committee or otherwise in terms of where the residents want the money to be spent?
Sure. So Budget Engagement Commission was a part of the package. If you get Measure Z, if we vote for that, then you're going to have stand up this Budget Engagement Commission. And it's going to go beyond Measure Z. So they are truly going to meet in perpetuity. They're a new board or commission that we installed and instituted. And so they'll look at the budget. And we do a 2-year budget in Riverside, so they'll look at the budget 4 times a year or so and look at the performance measurements and indicators that we have and give us feedback on adjustments that we need at mid-year or now, in between the 2 years.
Is the commission, though, focused on the revenue specifically for Measure Z?
Right now they are. So that's their first focus, is to look at Measure Z and the potential $50 million a year that comes in.
That's a lot of money.
It's doubling that sales tax that we have,
money.
and giving us suggestions, advice, and priorities for that money.
Does the money go into the general fund or is it segregated?
It's general fund, but it's a specific account. So the public, the community will be able to see where that money goes.
I see.
Line item by line item.
So as I understand it, as the commission is starting to meet, there is a sense, though, where the community wants the money to be spent. And I'd like to kind of go through those if we can.
Sure.
And I understand one of the priorities is police and fire.
That's right.
Give us a sense as to what the mood is on that and where you intend to go.
So public safety was, that was number 1, and it was in the ballot measure.
Right.
And so we are focused on equipment, especially for the fire department. They've said that they need new fire engines, refresh those. That's a safety issue for our firemen going to respond to fire calls. In terms of the police, it's manpower. And so we're looking at 60 new sworn positions, about 57 police officers and 3 sergeants or so, and then another 20 non-sworn support personnel. So it's a big impact, and it will increase the response times or decrease response times, increase the responsiveness of our police and fire.
There's also a question of roads, road repair. We know the state is looking at addressing that question. There's about $60 billion in state roads that need repairs, about $78 billion in local roads that need repairs. You're part of the locals. We don't know exactly how the package is going to run in terms of Sacramento, but what about in Riverside? That's part of the priorities for Measure Z. What's going to happen?
Well, we definitely are going to set aside some funding for Measure Z for our roads. And we find out that it's 8 times more expensive to repair a road than to prevent it. So you talk about the slurry ceiling and those kind of things. And so that's what we're looking at the state level too. State, in terms of what we see from them and the funding potential, is maybe about $10 million a year coming to us. We can pave a lot of roads with that.
So do you know if that money that is passed through Measure Z can be used to leverage more money from what's coming down from Sacramento?
Definitely. Looking at the past, that's what we've done for the grade separations, the underpasses and overpasses between roads and rail. And so if we have a shovel-ready project, meaning we have the engineering done and design and we're ready to go, then we're going to be able to get to the front of the line with the money that's coming down from the state on grade separations or goods movement.
Right. The new president has indicated, both during the campaign and since, he's looking at spending money on infrastructure.
Yeah.
So is Riverside readying itself in case the Trump administration says, okay, what shovel ready or what matching programs do you have that we can participate in?
In the next couple of weeks, we're going to prioritize our grade separation, grade crossings. So there's 4 that are on the list, and we will continue to look for funding to be able to provide relief in terms of quality of life. I mean, think of the sounds. If you live next to a railroad track and you don't have that grade separation, there's sound impacts, there's air quality impacts, there's emergency vehicle impacts. And so for our city especially, because we're trisected by 2 rail lines, we have 26 grade crossings that we need to do something with, to affect, have an effect on.
In addition to Measure Z, the County of Riverside has what's known as a self-help measure for transportation funding. Most Southern California counties do. Back in November, 14 counties looked at either new self-help measures or additional self-help measures. Only 6 of 14 passed. Is it time, though, for Riverside to look at another transportation self-help measure? I know you're a mayor and not on the county.
But I'm also on the Riverside County Transportation Commission. I'm a commissioner there, and so I see that time and time again. So that measure continues, I believe, until about 20 or 30 or so. And I can't remember. I think it was a quarter-cent sales tax, and so there is potential there is need. You look around at the transportation infrastructure improvements that are needed, there's plenty of need there. And so it'll come to a point where we have to go out to the voters and figure out if they have an appetite for an increase in that particular sales tax. But that goes directly to transportation. And I think that with the 91 express lanes, that was an RCTC project. That was money well spent, $1.4 billion. Part of that was that Measure A funding from RCTC, the self-help county that we are. And so I think that that's going to be able to help us tell the story if we do need to go out again for an increase in that sales tax.
We also know that the voters, the constituents, talked about homelessness and wanting to reduce homelessness, which continues to be a crisis, not just in Riverside County, but LA County, the entire state. What can the city do? In LA, for example, the city passed a measure to build supportive housing, then the county passed a measure to provide services. I don't know if Riverside County has its, help me.
We're working towards that, and in Riverside specifically, I accepted the mayor's challenge to end veterans homelessness.
Right, and that's been a bright spot. That's been a bright spot.
But that was, I got to give VA credit. The Veterans Affairs and HUD and the vouchers and the wraparound services that they brought to the table and coordination helped us, get those. We're at functional zero in the city and the county.
But if you use Measure Z money to reduce homelessness, presumably that would be for building facilities.
You can't end homelessness without housing.
Right. So that's great. But then the city doesn't provide services. So you need the county to jump in.
Yes.
Are those partnerships starting? Are you opening dialogue?
Yes, we are. And the county has taken, is getting, more involved. They have a set of principles that we just adopted at the Western Riverside Council of Governments, and we're going to probably adopt those. They'll be in front of the city in the next month. And basically, we're trying to take a regional approach because it could be a balloon effect. If we try to enforce our way out of this, which is not I don't believe is the right thing to do. But we just push them over into Corona or Hoopa Valley. And
what does that do?
That's not being a good neighbor. And so I've started a Love Your Neighbor campaign, and that's with a faith-based approach to this, where we can support our neighbors without homes through connections and relationships from those faith-based organizations, churches. We've got 400 of them. We got 400 homeless. If each of them would adopt a homeless person, it would be over for us in the city of Riverside.
We'll have you back. His name is Rusty Bailey. He is the mayor of the city of Riverside, where we are today. My name is Brad Pomerance. Thanks for joining us on Local Edition.
Thanks for having me.